to order a blood test. Anybody who's involved in a whiplash injury, I do want to get that test done within a certain amount of time, right?
You're talking about the mild concussion blood test,
Yeah. No, you did talk about that, but
which
I'm
you're
talking
talking
about
about
the
the inflammatory indicator blood test or
yes,
concussion.
the inflammation one. The
Yeah, you want to do those at the same thing twice after the initial exam and at MMI.
okay, okay, okay. And where do I get that done? Just any of those blood?
West, LabCorp,
Okay, okay, okay,
they're everywhere.
okay.
And if one's too far,
And I need to call them up for an agreement with them
yeah,
or
yeah, you need to go over and get all the basic information. Say, hey, I'm interested in sending these patients over for this blood work. How does that all work? What paperwork do you need?
okay,
How does
okay, okay,
billing work? Remember, you
okay.
always have to cover two things: time and money.
Yes.
How does the money work? How does the time work?
Okay. Deal. Deal.
And then what happens? What's the process from A, B, C, D?
Mhm.
From the time I send them over here, you tell me exactly what's going to happen so I can tell my patient. Remember, you want no damn surprises for your patient.
Yes.
So you find out everything. What's the process, step by step?
Okay.
When I call somebody over, I want to know exactly what's going to happen step by step. And
Okay.
then I want to know exactly what's going to happen with money.
Okay.
And we're
Do
talking
I
about a personal injury case.
do I pay for it or is the patient paying for that?
Talk to the lab core, see if uh, they're willing to take an LOP. A
Okay.
lot of times they're not,
Okay. So
but
how do you
these
what do you recommend?
remember the inflammatory blood tests are not expensive.
Okay. Okay.
So if they don't, then you've got to make that decision whether or not you'll pay for the test and then add it to the bill.
Okay.
But it's not that expensive of a test.
So you would recommend the we pay for it and get reimbursed later.
I would,
Okay.
because it's only like a $35, $45 test.
Deal. Okay, that's not bad at all. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it helps,
Yeah.
especially if it's positive, it significantly helps.
Okay.
Now, the mild concussion test, that's $5,000. That's a different story.
That's a whole different beast. Yeah.
And but that's why I said I personally would only do it if I already had ligamentous lesion or disc bulge confirmed, because now I know I've got a good case.
Yeah.
Actually, there's about four factors.
Yeah.
There's about four factors that I need to know of whether or not I'm going to do the mild concussion. Number one, obviously, did they have the signs or symptoms to get it done? They
Hmm.
didn't. They didn't have the mechanism of injury and those signs or symptoms.
Hmm.
But chances are, if they had the mechanism injury, they're going to have. When you do the River Mead evaluation, you saw, they
Hmm.
had headaches, dizziness, blurred vision. So chances are they will have had something relative to that.
Yeah.
But number one, did they have the mechanism of injury? Number two, did they have the symptoms suggestive of in the River Mead profile?
Hmm.
You go, okay, well, that's good enough, almost good enough to have to do the $5,000 mild concussion blood test. But I don't want to just do a $5,000 blood test willy-nilly. So
Exactly.
what's the two other criteria? Well, I want to see if it's a strong case. Well, what's going to make it a good case right off the bat? If there was a ligamentous lesion, confirmed ligamentous lesion on x-rays, or a disc bulge on an MRI. Well, now I
Mhm.
know I got a pretty strong case. I've already got permanency going on here.
Yep.
And then the fourth category is how much money is there. If there's very low limits of injury award, it may not be even worth doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to talk to the attorney
Okay.
and you got to go, well, what are the limits here? And let me share with you what we can do based on what the limits are, what we might be able to do to help support this injury award. Those are the
Okay.
four,
That's
those are
good.
the four characteristics you want to pay attention to.
Okay.
So if I've got the mechanism of injury, got the River Reed symptoms, I've got uh I've got at least the strength of a permanent injury, whether it's with the disc or with the ligament. That tells me I got a strong case. And
Hmm.
then the last one is there enough money there to do the test? In other words, is it not like capped at $15,000 or $20,000 and the test is $5,000? Then it doesn't even make sense to do it. But if it's a decent amount, and that's where you need to talk to the attorney.
Okay.
You go, hey, I've got this blood test that shows up for mild concussion. How much money is there potentially in this case, and then whether or not it's worth going after?
Understand.
Those are the four characteristics. And if I
Okay.
had all those four, then I would definitely do it. And then it's an LOP. Remember, they take an LOP, and you obviously need to educate the attorney of why you want to get this done. They got mechanism of injury, they got the Rivermead symptoms, and this is a high sensitivity test that's FDA approved
Hmm.
specifically for mild concussion. It's a primary finding. It's a primary objective finding.
Hmm.
It's for mild concussion and it's FDA approved.
Hmm.
So your attorney doesn't know any of that. You got to share with him the importance of that
Hmm.
and then get his okay. Otherwise, is an attorney going to sign off on a $5,000 test he doesn't know anything about?
Yes. Yes.
No.
Has to understand why. Yeah.
You see, I mean,
Yeah.
how much do I keep telling you there? How much education there is with dealing with attorneys?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to constantly educate the attorneys on all this medical stuff. They don't know. They don't know nowhere near what you think they do.